Campaign 2020 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Quick Trip, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, and Wisconsin Operating Engineers Local 139.
Simon Moesch of Shawano is a Democratic candidate in the 6th Assembly District. The primary is August 11th. Simon, welcome to WisconsinEye.
Thank you so much.
You're a first-time candidate, so I'm always curious. What do you think is, what would you identify as a number one issue in your campaign, Simon?
The number one issue I would identify in the campaign, I think the government as a whole, I think, is very divided right now. And I don't always know if government officials are doing what is best for their representatives and just for the people in our district, in our state, and as a whole in the United States. And I think that there needs to be a change. And I think that is my biggest topic right now, is that there needs to be some sort of a change. And I'm looking to be that person to make the change.
Okay, thank you. Let's run down some specific issues. If the governor's right and we're going to collect, because of the pandemic, $2 billion with a B less in tax collections in this year, Simon, if you're a member of the assembly, you'd have a tough choice. It would seem to me you could cut spending or you could raise taxes or fees. Where would you be on that on that choice?
So I was looking through different articles online, and Governor Evers already was looking at reducing 5% of spending, which was actually very highly praised by the Republicans, which I was intrigued to see that they were praising what the governor had done. But I think if there's a way for us to cut more spending without kind of crippling Wisconsin or crippling the economy, maybe we should look at maybe trying to find a little bit more spending that might not necessarily be needed right now. But also calling upon the federal government and seeing, is there any way they can help with the $2 billion? And also seeing, what are other states going through right now too? Are they having the same issues that we are? Are they more financially stable? And if they are more financially stable, what are they doing to not have this issue? Okay. And I think that's something that's often neglected, is instead of just, we are Wisconsin, let's look around us and see the impact everyone else is having, and what are they doing to come up with a plan, and kind of following in suit with what they're doing. Okay. And if the 50 states don't have a plan, we have an issue that we need to figure out with. So,
okay, a different subject. The Americans have seen how some police officers treat those in custody differently over the last 2 months. The governor's offered a 9-bill package that of police reforms that would ban chokeholds, ban no-knock warrants, universal standards for police training. Is this a package you could support, or do you have other ideas on the issue of reforming police practices?
I think that there should be some sort of reform or change with the police and those officials. I think there should be kind of some sort of standard that they are all held to. I think it should be universal. I don't understand why there isn't a universal way that police are already held to a standard. It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I think there should be some sort of standard that is held with them. And sorry, I made little side notes for myself.
I understand.
Yeah, I think that no matter what, like, when people are in custody, they should be treated equally, and that there shouldn't be differences on the way people are treated when they're in custody. I think it should be just a universal, that's how it is.
Okay, what's your position on a different subject, legalizing medical and recreational marijuana?
I think that legalizing marijuana is something that we should look into for recreational use and medical use. This could be a great opportunity for us to use the tax revenue off of marijuana to put towards funding for things like public schools. The tax revenue could be an additional resource for funding that we don't have already. And there are multiple states already that have legalized it. And once again, we can look to them on how did they write their legislation? How is it going for them? And how, this isn't something that we have to be kind of the guinea pig on and go, well, let's try it. We've already got multiple different states that have led with legalizing marijuana, and we can just follow and suit with them.
Okay. There's a debate on the Capitol. This is another new subject. Debate in the Capitol who should draw the next congressional and Senate and Assembly boundary lines, the reapportionment issue. The Constitution says the party in power in the Capitol will draw them. The governor wants a people's commission that would draw them and then forward those recommendations to elected lawmakers to enact. Who's right?
I believe that we should look into having an independent or a third party source to draw the lines. That way it avoids gerrymandering and just if the party in power at the time, it eliminates them being able to use it for their own political benefit. And I would argue that if I'm trying to get the wording right on this one. I don't understand why necessarily people would be opposed to it. I think having an independent source would be the safer option to ensure that there's no gerrymandering or political party help. And I mean, if you are opposed to it, why are you necessarily opposed to it? There might be something more behind that on why you are.
Okay. A couple questions on property taxes. Wisconsin is a high property tax state, which is why schools and local governments have caps and limits on what they can levy in property taxes. Although referendums allow districts to exceed those caps and limits. If you're a member of the Assembly, would you vote to continue those caps and limits on property tax levies for local governments?
I believe that we should keep some sort of cap on the property tax. By doing that, I think it would ensure that the government can't skyrocket the taxes year after year, and that there's only so much that they can, push through. But I do think that maybe we should look at additional resources to kind of help counterbalance the property tax, such as legalizing marijuana and using that tax revenue, and also looking at a lot of times with the school districts too, with the school districts and property taxes. If schools need more money, why do they need more money? Are they using the money they have right now in the best possible way that they can? And also making sure that they're weighing the wants alongside the needs, and making sure that they're covering all the needs and not necessarily all of the wants.
Do you think local governments should have the ability to levy a half-cent sales tax, something now only counties can do?
I think that would be something that we could look into. I'm not sure if I would necessarily give a yes or a no right now, but I think it would be a point of interest. It doesn't hurt to look into additional options. Knowledge is power, I guess. And if it's something that if we look into and it looks promising, yes, why not go for it? But if we start to look into it and it seems like an area that maybe we don't want to touch, then we just withdraw that. But I don't think it would hurt to look into another option like that.
Okay. We've not been able to come up with a stable funding source for our highways for a long time. Last year, the governor recommended increasing the gas tax, which is 30.9 cents a gallon. That did not pass. Would you consider raising the gas tax as a stable source of highway funding?
I would say if that was the most promising option that we had in order to get more funding for this topic, then yes. But once again, I think looking at other options, is there another option? Is there something that we're not seeing that we could have used as another resource for money?
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily limit the options, I guess.
Got it. A couple questions on the pandemic. It not only causes governments it not only squeezes the tax collections of government, but it provides a lot more demands on health services. We've seen hospitals play a frontline role in the COVID pandemic, Wisconsin and across the nation. If you're in the assembly voting on the next state budget, should hospitals have a greater priority in the next state budget than they may have gotten in the current one?
I think that the hospitals have played a huge factor in the pandemic right now. I mean, without them, we wouldn't be able to treat people or be tested to see if we did have COVID. I think if hospitals are saying we need more money, that is something we should look into. But I think we should also look into how are they using the money that they have right now? Is it being used effectively? Is it being used efficiently? If you ask those two questions and they're both yes, and they need more money, then yeah, we should look at increasing it. But if they're not using the money effectively and efficiently already, why are we going to give you more money if you're not using the money you have right now to the best of your ability?
Okay. Should there be a state law that says if a business has complied with the health and safety COVID guidelines, they could not be the subject of a frivolous lawsuit? They would be exempt?
I would say if businesses are using every practice that the government, the CDC, all the officials are saying to use, and they're doing everything they can to prevent the COVID virus, and someone just happens to get it, then yes, I think they should be kind of exempt from a lawsuit like that. If the business is doing every single thing in their power, what more could you ask for them?
Okay.
And I would say that with that, if there's an individual suing, are they also following their best practice to try to limit their exposure to the virus? But yeah, I would say if the business is trying every single thing in their power and they are doing everything that is being asked, I don't know if there could necessarily be a lawsuit against them, because they're what more could they do?
Okay. When a school board or a local government wants to authorize a major public works project, should there be standards and requirements giving preference to Wisconsin businesses? The reason I ask is a study found that in 2015, out-of-state contractors got $72 million in contracts for these local public works projects, but that $72 million doubled to $146 million in 2018. Do you see a need for local governments to give preference to Wisconsin companies?
I understand that if they're looking to go to companies out of the state, that there could be an option of them being cheaper during projects like this. But at the same time, if you're going with companies outside of the state, the money that you're giving them might not necessarily come back into the state and help work with the economy. Right. So I would say there should be a priority of using businesses in the state for projects like this. And if it is a little bit more, it's going to have to be a little bit more. But at the same time, that money is staying right in the state. It's not going outside of the state. So I would say yes.
Okay, we've only got a couple of minutes left, but is there any major campaign issue I haven't asked you about that's important to your campaign you want to mention now?
I would say I would kind of go back to just my original opening statement of it. I think there's a need for change right now. And I don't know if the government officials are necessarily doing the best they can to represent the people in the Wisconsin and in every state, honestly, and that maybe we need to look at electing younger officials and having younger members in the government. Younger members could have different ideas, different perspectives, and that it might be time for something like that.
Okay, and then finally, you want to highlight any differences between you and your opponent or opponents in the August 11 primary?
I would say, once again, the big thing is the difference between my opponents and I am a lot younger than both of my opponents. I am a recent college graduate. I just received a degree in political science. I would say that I have a different perspective when it comes to issues with me being younger, and that I'm ready to hit the ground running. I'm ready to try and get elected into the government and do everything in my power to do what is best for my constituents and the people that I would represent.
Okay, thank you. Simon Moesch of Shawano, is a Democratic candidate in the 6th Assembly District. The primary is August 11th. Simon, thank you for talking to WisconsinEye. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Campaign 2020 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Quick Trip, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, and Wisconsin Operating Engineers Local 139.